First of all, MAP-ABCD, or rather ABCD in partnership with MAP, has special partner institutions, which you can see here. I'd like to point out in particular Multinational Foundation, headed by Eddie Ross, because it is with him, and of course Bernie Yap, Ramon de Osorio, that did this every week for the last 15 or 16 years, every week. That's never been done. So thank you. Our court members are RI Chemical with Melio Carlos and his daughter, God Agro with Erasmus and Gerald. We want to thank Gerald Calapio because he's here almost every time. Our individuals are here. I want to pay attention here to Robert Jipanco, the last name, because he's the head of our ABC Leads and Needs, which put into practice businesses that come from this forum. Our corporate partners are RI Chemical, well, we already done the care partner institution. So let's go. All right. Without much further ado, I'd like to start. First of all, I'd like to start with this, and just Vivian, keep it like this, all right? Don't go to the next slide. Our topic today is coffee. Very important. We import 80% of our coffee and we can grow it. And the way I met Aris is that he called me one day and then he wanted me to go to the alumni homecoming of what you call the 10 Outstanding Young Men, KOIM awardees. And at that time, I won it for strategic management. He was also an awardee, but we went from corporate strategic management, my time, which is management and strategy, to the new version today. We just don't. We not only need management of corporations, etc., with good strategy. We need entrepreneurship even more than corporations, new businesses, and we need something here. He wanted for social entrepreneurship, not only entrepreneurship but social. During my time, taking care of the social needs was not so important. Today, with our country and its state, social is very important. He embodies both entrepreneurship, which is what we need, new businessmen and new business, and the social dimension. And I'd like to say that today, as CEO and co-founder of Varacco Incorporated, he not only has a business, he's franchises, so he multiplies what he does through franchising. And I would like to say that yes, I guess 4 qualities, right, which you need today, right, especially the young people watching today from all over the world. As we know, we are free 2 weeks from now, and we've gone from 50 when we changed the board to the young people. All were above 60 now. All except one are below 45. First, the youth. We're talking youth. He got the young Southeast Asia professional fellow with emphasis on youth leader. He's young. Well, actually, he's young. He's global. He's national. And he's environment friendly. So that's the young. What about national? I'm not going to say young. He is known internationally. He won the United Nations Best Small Business Award. United Nations Best Small Business Award. And yet, he devotes himself also to the Philippines. He won an award. Well, many awards. One of them is he was founding chairman of Thinnk Farm, which is grow our communities' food, not only national, but community-based, right there, growing our communities' food. So aside from being young, global, and national, very important in today's world is that he is a conservation advocate, right? He actually is also an awardee for his conservation interests. He got the Conservation Optimum Southeast Asia Award for Climate, right? So this is what we have. And as we start, I'd like to say we met through TOIM, and when I told him about us, he was very interested in joining. He was elected last time as a member of the board. So it's going to bring new energy to our board, and we look forward to his coming in. We're honored to have him talk to us about the coffee program. We'd like to say that, Aris, we start with you giving your phone number, and then we'd like to say that this is 8 to 9, 9 to 10, we have the open forum where we talk about applying this into the real world, because as our chairman said, we're measured not only in forms, but what we do after the forms. So the work is in between the forms. So first of all, Aris, up to what time can you stay today? 9 or 10?
I can stay at 10.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Secondly, could you give us your phone number? Because people all over the road might want to call you up. And with Viber, it's free to call. So what is your phone number? Can you announce it on the screen so people can hear it?
Yeah, 0917 651 4316.
Okay, I'll repeat for all to take notes. First of all, many people give their office numbers. Aris is giving us his cell number. That's very nice of him. Very accessible in spite of his busy schedule. It's 0917 651 4316. Second of all, I'd like to start with this. No, you know, when they go to forums, they give lots of introductions, etc. But we want to know the person is. So, Aris, in addition to giving your talk, give us 5 to 10 minutes how you got into this, because we want the people listening to know you as a person, not just as a brilliant speaker. No? So tell us how you got into this, how you got into agriculture, but not more than 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, so that we have personal relation with you. And then after that, give your talk. And then after that, most importantly, tell us how we can help your mission. How we can help your mission. You're already helping us with your thoughts. How the audience here worldwide can help your mission. Our worldwide audience used to be all Filipino, now it's 20% foreign. Our audience used to be 80% male, now it's 50-50 male and female. Our audience should be old, right? More than a lot are old. Now it's 50-50, right? By old, I mean over 45. In other words, really young, right? Well, below 45, that's half of them are below 45. So we really are young and energetic, right? So let's start. Let us start with you telling us about your personal life a little bit, how you got into this. That will help us inspire. And then we have the audience know who you are as a person, not just as a leader, as a person. Your inner thoughts, what drives you, right? And then after I'll give your talk, and remember to tell us how we can help you. Okay, Aris, thank you for coming. The floor is now yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Sec Ernie, for giving me the virtual floor to begin my presentation. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bernie. Good morning. I just arrived here in Batangas from a long travel. And I hope you had coffee already this morning. So I'm having my cup of coffee. So thank you, Sec Ernie, for your very wonderful introduction of me. It's an honor to be with you all, especially with ABCD MAP. I've heard a lot of good things about ABCD MAP, and specifically with a lot of good people, good-hearted people here in the group. So for the first 5 minutes, I believe I have to tell a little bit of background of my personal life. I actually was born deaf, so I'm a person with disability. But later on, at the age of 6 years old, I began to hear. So for some mystery, my mother said, "Bigla kang nakarinig." So nung mula na 6 years old, she started putting me in the field selling sweepstakes tickets. We were a very poor family. My father was a wedding cobrador. So yung tawag dito sa Batangas, cobrador ng wedding. And my mother was a sweepstakes ticket vendor. So they only finished grade 6, but then they told me to study hard, excel in school, and they wanted me to really be an excellent educated person. So I am the first in the family to finish college. I'm also the first in the family to do a doctorate. So I'm taking my doctorate in sustainability now in UP. And then I'm flying to Europe next week because of my sustainability fellowship in Sweden, sponsored by the Swedish government. So looking back at 6 years old as a person with disability, and I have 80% hearing loss, so I can still hear 20%. So I now wear a high-tech artificial intelligence hearing aid from Germany. So that's how I can hear and engage with you all. So, but despite this limitation, I never failed to really work at the age of 6, and then later on giving back to the field what I've gotten from the people who've helped me along the way. So there were a lot of people who've helped me reach my dreams, starting from the USP score who sent me to school, and then eventually UP also gave me scholarship, and then I got to travel the world. But this limitation, it's not characteristic of me to tell about this, but because I'm comfortable with my hearing aid, so I'm really comfortable telling with you all about this disability. So I now call it, I'm PWD, a person with dreams, despite all of those difficulties and bullying when I was in elementary. But they all did not stop me from reaching what I want to do in the next few years after elementary. So I excelled. I went into UP, I got scholarships, and now I'm an entrepreneur. So I believe you had talked last time about PWD in agriculture. And that's also one of the things we're doing here in our business. We're helping people with disabilities. We actually hire them here in Batangas. We're helping like 168 member PWD group. They pack our coffee and all, etc. And there are also a lot more PWDs in the mountains, but they do not receive the same level of care that we receive here in the city. And they do not have access to PWD card and all and many things. But that's one of the missions. So now we're comfortable. We're not rich, but we're comfortable. And then eventually, from that mindset of richness, going to college, I've learned to develop the mindset of wealth instead of mindset of material richness. My mindset changed from three kinds of wealth: wealth of wisdom, wealth of purpose, and wealth of health. So those are the three things. And then recently, when I spoke at UPLB in front of the 2,000 students, that's what I said about those three wealths. Change from mindset from wealth of richness, from mindset of richness to mindset of wealth. I discovered it only with the farmers. So the farmers really have that mindset of creating wealth instead of creating richness. That's why people sometimes misconstrue that these farmers, why are they not rich? Because they're not aiming for richness, they're aiming for wealth. So that's what I'm going to talk about now, about our coffee program, how we discovered about wealth. So shall I proceed with the presentation, or do you have questions about personal 5 minutes of things?
No, please proceed, then we'll
Okay.
ask questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm now proceed with my presentation. So I've concocted this title in 2018 on my discovery and accomplishment of a World Bank funded project here in Batangas. So I was thinking of putting an acronym in coffee and came up with this: coffee-based farming and entrepreneurship engagement, or coffee. Usually when you go to the field, they only know about farming, but they seldom go beyond it, which is entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship is a hard thing to do. Only a few people really do entrepreneurship. So I was walking in the mountain. I was hiking in the mountain in Lobo, Batangas, and I saw a lot of coffee trees in the backyards of many farmers. And then nobody would take care of it because they said it's really very difficult to take care of the coffee. And they had to wait for like 9 months before harvest. Unlike other crops that you will only wait for 3 months, 6 months, and you have immediate income. But for coffee, it takes a while. So I said, maybe we could do something about this, because Batangas is known for coffee, and we are now on the 12th spot in the entire country when it comes to production of coffee. The number one now is in Mindanao. Top three is in Mindanao. But historically, Batangas is the first producer of coffee. But now, no more, because a lot of areas here in Batangas are converted to subdivisions, and there are no more people who plant coffee because they shifted to other skilled jobs here in Batangas because a lot of factories opened up. So I'm afraid that it might happen in other countryside megacities now, because we are trying to develop the countryside. So I hope people will not shift to that kind of system that we're in. There were no more farmers like what happened here in Batangas. So going to the coffee-based farming and entrepreneurship engagement, I'd like to also introduce to you our partners. Just like the ABCD map, we also have partners. And these are some of our farms. We have a long list of allies because we want to really do our SDG number 70, which is partnership for goals. So starting 2018, we tried to develop for the last 4 years our integrity in partnering not only with local organizations but international organizations. Our funders are USDA, Activoca, under the Phil Coffee program, the USAID, and under the EPIC program and the Office of the President of the United States, the PEPFAR, the BIMPIAGA. That's where we do our annual meeting here in Mindanao, the Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East Asian Group. Yes. Yes. Okay. And then we have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's the official development assistance partner of the Philippines under the ASEAN +5. So I'm going to touch about RCEP later on why this is very important. Although we are the last to sign the RCEP, it's there are some some light towards the end of the tunnel. Then GGGI is an international Global Green Growth Institute, is an international organization founded by countries, by the ministry, by the ministers of several countries. There are like started in Rio 12 in 2012, and then it has grown to a really big international organization worldwide. So we're luckily one of the beneficiaries of the GGI Korea and the BIAGA. And of course, my company, Varacco, we have partners, the University of Philippines, Los Baños. We have a law office partner to help us with legalities of many of our farmers, the IPs. And of course, Thinnk Farm is my NGO. So Varacco does not work single-handedly. We have a CSR arm, which is the Thinnk Farm. It started in 2012. So these are some of our partners. So Varacco, for the last 4 years, fortunately has won some awards, which is the United Nations Best Small Business among 2,000 small businesses around the world. And we are the only one in the Philippines and one of the 10 in Asia Pacific. So there are like 2 in China, 1 in Indonesia, 1 in Singapore, and many others. We luckily, so we represented the Philippines last year at the Food and Agriculture Organization. We spoke about coffee program, the regional hegemony, and many other things that are related particularly to agriculture and social entrepreneurship. So we also won the Conservation Optimism Southeast Asia Awards, which are given to young groups, young people, and young organizations. This was given by the US East West Center. They choose groups that have advocacies on climate. So one of our projects leads to climate change mitigation, or the control, the monitoring of microclimate in Mindanao. And lastly, we also won an outstanding utility model from the Department of Science and Technology here in the Philippines. So what are we doing? And to give you more overview about Varacco, we have 5 ongoing programs in Varacco. Although Varacco is a for-profit company, we are a social enterprise actually. So a social enterprise, we are registered as a manufacturing food service company with secondary purposes on getting grants and social activities. And these are 5 of the activities, 5 of the programs or projects that we've been doing under the coffee program. So this started in 2018 and in partnership with Thinnk. Our first project was the concreting of Farm to Market Road, Lubao, Batangas. It was done in 2018. It was funded for 100 million pesos by World Bank under the PRDP program. This was very interesting because we started writing about this in 2014. This was connected to what I discovered into the story I told you a while ago about seeing lots of coffees and other produce in the mountains that are not being taken care of by the farmers because they didn't receive support. We found out that what they needed was a road because it really gets flooded. The area really gets flooded. And even though they have produced, when it rains, it really rains hard, it gets flooded, and they have no means to transport the produce down the road. And it's an 8-kilometer road. It's not really just a road. It's a really rough road. And you can only go down using a horse or something else. And if you take it by foot, you have a difficult time going up and down the area, and you will have to carry a lot of the baggage. So it's really very difficult. So we conducted negotiations with the people, 3 barangays to the LGU, and finally we wrote the feasibility study in partnership with my late mentor, an economist from University of Santo Tomas. Unfortunately, he died of COVID, but I continue to do what we started in 2014. So now they have roads. There's now tourism in Lubao, Batangas, and many other things. So I'm really, really thankful of this activity. So the next one would be our improvement of production for coffee. We're focusing on a niche coffee. If you notice, we're talking about coffee, but actually this is just a proof of concept test because we want to also do this technology in other crops, because basically where there is coffee, there are also other vegetables around the area. There are also other crops, so you can still use the microclimate parameters that you're going to get from the technology to other crops in the area. So it's funded by USDA. So we have 4 areas there. We have one in Mount Apo in Davao. We have 2 in Bukidnon, and then we have 1 in Sultan Kudarat. They are pretty very far. They are 1,400 meters above sea level. So it takes time to go there. So, but luckily we're helping them through technology. And then we have an upcoming one. This is funded by BIMPIAGA Korea funding, cooperation fund. And we're going to do a greenhouse in which we're going to improve the production of inputs. This is very interesting because we lack a lot of certified and we lack accredited nurseries in the Philippines. There are some of that, but interestingly, why don't we have accredited nurseries? And why do we have few certified seedlings, not only for coffee but in many other crops? And sometimes we are surprised why we produce not really good vegetables, or why do these vegetables and crops are not resilient, because we do not have certified nurseries. Where do they get it? So they just cut it somewhere, plant it. They lack the origin of science and many other things. So if we start our crops, we start getting our crops from the original science, from the mother science, and many other things. So we continue to develop the resiliency of the crops, then we will be able to really produce very resilient, climate adaptive. You cannot say climate proof, but it could be climate adaptive kinds of crops. So we're producing 2 nurseries in Bukidnon in partnership with the Department of Agriculture under the BPI and the other LGUs in Mindanao. So my other team is in Mindanao right now. They're conducting many other. So we have several teams in Mindanao scattered all over the place. So we have around 10 researchers and many other things. So they're there now. And the 4th one, this is what we did, what we're doing in Pampanga. So we have a social enterprise incubation, which is very aligned with what we're doing right now. It's funded by USAID. So it runs until next year, until September 20 next year. So social enterprise incubation, they adapting our nutrition entrepreneurship business model for marginalized communities. The marginalized community that we're helping in Pampanga are people living with HIV. So people living with HIV are highly disregarded, or highly discriminated in the scene. So that's why there are so many HIV programs right now. But because of the stigma, they lack the capability to directly apply or many other things. Some things that they cannot enjoy the same way we enjoy with the regular population enjoys. They do not enjoy it, or the other rights and many things. But these people that we're helping, it's a group. So it's called Regional TV HIV Network in Region 3. It's Pampanga, Tarlac, Nueva Ecija. So we're incubating them so that they can create a livelihood, a social enterprise that can sustain themselves, and they have a safe space where they can hire themselves and all. These people do not necessarily have the HIV. Their families or their friends have HIV, and so we're helping them. The last one, this is our for-profit side. We have a coffee shop here in Batangas, and we're expanding. Our goal for the next 2 years is to create 200 stalls in the entire Philippines. So we are ongoing on this part. So we got approved in some big malls here already. So we're starting to gather all our resources so we can have more stalls where we can have the space where we sell the produce of our farmers. So that's some overview of Varacco. Now with Varacco, we use backward integration model as part of the model, a framework of our nutrition entrepreneurship. I've actually written some publications on this. So this is just part of the framework. It's a very big framework, and it will take another hour to discuss it. So I just summarize it in this kind of figure. So basically, as a backward integration model, I adapted it in the concept in agriculture about backward integration. So if you notice, instead of starting in farming, we started with the product. So because the mindset of the people in the province start in farming, then they will produce the product afterwards. In our case, we start with the product. So we create food labeling, food safety, food composition, developing the products. And because we decided to also capitalize in digital space, we after the product development, we also created a space for digitalization. So our brand, we are pushing for a digital first brand for social entrepreneurship, because that's what's happening now, digitalization. And of course, a space. We have a physical store here in Batangas. This is our safe space where people can go, where people can eat, can have coffee. So it's our area for livelihood. We have a design thinking that's regularly being updated. So we're now entering the next phase, which is to rebrand into a much more focused activity in our space, so we can expand to other areas, like what I showed you about our goal for 100 stalls. And then finally, the production. This is what we're doing with Lobo Batangas, a farm to market road, the production, the technology. So we're trying to create good farming and food service practices and use of emerging technology. However, I'd like to emphasize that emerging technology, they are just tools. They are not magic that can immediately solve the problems of the farmers. Because I've realized and I've experienced that when you go to the farm, they will be highly averse of the technology. They do not want to use the technology. No, 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 no. Number one, they have no signal in the farm. They're very far. Number two, they don't have smartphone. Number three, most of them cannot read, cannot write. They don't even have calculators. They don't even have notepads where they can write they call that, all of their sales and all. I'm not trying to dramatize these things, but that's what I've experienced so far. So trying to enter in a step-by-step level instead of fully integrating them to the technology. We are now on our third year for the technology, and they're now receiving text messages about the condition of their farm on a daily basis. They know the condition of their soil. They know the condition of the wind, of the precipitation, and all. And we let them decide what to do with it. Because if you go to the farm, they have a notebook and they will say, "It's sunny day today. It's rainy day, 9 a.m. and all, etc." Are you going to go back to the farm just to record all of those things? And they cannot focus on the farm the entire day. They have other errands. So what I'm saying is that we're trying to make their lives easier by monitoring the climate using technology. And by getting all of this data, they will be able to decide for themselves what to do with their farms. For example, they do not have testing of soil in the area because it's expensive. The government does not really give lots of testing of soil for free. We do not have a lot of soil test kits. We do not have a lot of facilities in the government in each provinces. My experience that we have a facility, but we do not have the regions to test it. So because it's expensive. So the tendency of the farmers, they keep putting fertilizer without really knowing it's already acidic. May ulcer na yung lupa. So hindi na maganda yung crop mo, nagkakasakit. When your soil is too acidic or when it's sick, the tendency, magkakasakit na lahat and it spreads so fast. So those are the four things: product, digitalization, space, and production, with the goal of giving social responsibility to community. Our nutrition entrepreneurship model has three levels. The level one is the product development and innovation. And when you create the product, you create wealth and market access. That's level two. So with the product, you bring it to the market, and there's an integration to the market, and therefore you create wealth. Our level three is the community should give it back to the community so they can continuously produce more products, and therefore you create more wealth and you create more well-being for the community. That should be the case. It's like the circular economy of your innovation in the community. Right now, it's very flat. You create the products, you integrate in the market. It does not really go back to the community because only a few benefit from it. So there's something that I'm trying to write in my dissertation on how to use the IP-based capacity building, IP-based building of wealth back to the community. So there are pretty interesting gaps in this. This is not yet perfect, the backward integration model. And that's I'm trying to do and continuously study for the last 4 years. And now I'm planning to write my dissertation about this one. So I'm going to introduce you to some for our farmers and which we are practicing or doing the nutrition and entrepreneurship business model. First farmer is Kuya Neil from Ipasugong, Bukidnon. It's 1,465 meters above sea level. And these are some of the needs that we've identified when we interviewed him. So he is part of the IP community of Higaonon in Bukidnon. He has multiple engagements. He has job. He's not full-time with the farm. He needs several inputs: money, fertilizers, pesticides, all-weather dryer, and of course, salary for manpower in the area. Pest and disease infestations. There are pest infestation and disease infections. So may ganun tayong problema sa mga farm. Hindi naman nawawala yun. Limited knowledge of farm record keeping. That's what I'm saying to you a while ago. Wala silang notebook or etc. Basic things that we can even give them. So we give them a kit, a ball pen, a calculator, and all. So imagine if all farmers have that. They can become really a true scientist. So that's what we're trying to tell them. They are actually not just farmers. They are farmer scientists because all of these things, time management, fertilizers, pesticides, pest infestations, and disease infections, there are some things that are being done by technicians, technical people. So we're trying to propose a lot of solutions and we're testing them, whichever works for them. So on September 7, we have a Farmers Day in Bukidnon. So our team was already in Bukidnon because we're continuously engaged with the farmer. We talk to them, we listen to them, we hear them, we have coffee with them, we sit with them. So what's happening this week in Bukidnon. We have a Farmers Day on September 7. So if some of you are in Bukidnon, in that area, please feel free to go to Central Mindanao University. It's going to happen there on September 7 at 9 a.m. So Ate Annalisa, so of course, we're also trying to incorporate gender equity and youth employment here. So Ate Annalisa is actually my favorite farmer because we have been working with her since 2021. And she's very, 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 a very happy person despite the difficulty in farming. So her farm is 1,410 meters above sea level. So that's at the foothills of Mount Apo. So we hike to her area. There's no electricity there. We've given them some solar power pole. So we give her some coffee maker and etc. This is the interesting part with Ate Annalisa. She's retiring. So she's been farming for the last 30 years. So she wanted to let her children join us. So one of our methodologies is to partner the mother farmer or the father farmer to a younger one. So there's a continuity. So that's what we're doing right now. We have two partners in our experiment: the regional farmer and the child or the progeny. So kahit wala siya, magtutuloy. So hindi sayang yung technology or yung mga tinuturo nating gap. Because hindi na nga maka-adapt ang mga farmers ng gap, yung technology pa kaya. Hindi na nga nila, wala na nga magturo sa kanila ng tamang good agricultural practices, yung technology pa kaya. But I'd also like to emphasize that they have a good storytelling tactic. Yung mga nuno pa nila, tandaan nila yung mga tradisyon nila. Kung ano yung ginagawa nila kapag ganito yung sakit, napapasa nila. If they can do that with those technologies that they've started way back, they can also do that for the new technologies that will be feeding them. But it takes skill, it takes patience to really talk to them, convert their knowledges into something tangible, or really understand the language, because it's one of the barriers to the language. Iba yung langwahe nila. So, doon ko lang narinig mga kauban. Natututo na rin ako mag-Bisaya minsan sa kanila para mahimuan, mga ganun-ganun na. Natututunan ko na mag-Bisaya. Nakakasama ko sila. So, but when you try to listen to them, minsan iba yung meaning nila. So, you have to have someone good in language to come with you and really translate what they're trying to tell you. And really listen and record it. It's a good part of it. We have very thick records now of the data that we have. And we need more help to convert all of those things to something tangible so that we will be able to transfer all of these findings into something tangible and palatable to the other community groups. So like Kuya Neil, that's the same problems that she has. you notice limited knowledge on farm record keeping. It's something we can do at MAP to teach them about farm record keeping or give them some notebooks or calculator or ball pens. Kasi si Ate Anilisa, pumupunit lang yan sa dyaryo, pumupunit lang yan sa ganun. Kasi wala silang pambili ng notebook. Tapos may pantusok, itutusok nila doon. So marami na siya. Hindi, nakalagay lang kung magkano yung kanyang sinales. Tapos, Ate Anilisa, 300,000 na itong nabenta mong kape. Pero hindi naka-record, malulugi ka niyan kasi hindi tinutusok-tusok mo lang. Tawa lang kami ng tawa. So binigyan namin siya ng ledger, nagsusulat siya. Nakapagsulat na siya ngayon. Tapos na niya yung anak niya, nagkatrabaho na sa LBC. So those are the things that small impacts. It really hurts me a while kapag narinig ko siya. Medyo naluluha po pag naalala ko sila because of their poor life. Sorry, I get passionate when I remember Ate Annalisa. So going back, so sorry about that. Naalala ko lang po kasi sila. So, next one will be Kuya Benji. Kuya Benji naman, may asawa na siya. Isa din sa problema nila ay ang same things. So same things lang. Sorry, I get passionate when I talk about the farmer. So I'll put visual shows lang. Same problem din ni Kuya Bernie, yung mga na-experience nila. And same thing with Kuya Chris. If you notice in their faces, it looks like they have had a hard work for the last many years. Excuse me. So, same thing din ang mga nagiging problema nila. But ang maganda kay Kuya Chris, college graduate siya. So, he has little problems compared to the others. But generally, most of the farmers, they are not as educated as us. They do not have the capacity to do some meetings. They have to go down and spend money to go down from the farm. They would rather stay at home and attend to their farms rather than attend capacity building activities. So yun ang mga problema. They do not have the same capacity as us. They do not have Zoom. They do not have laptop. How can they improve their capacities? They do not have that. Even though we are trying to help them little by little. Ayun yung kit. Ayan po yung nakita niyo hawak niya. Yan yung mga pinapamigay namin kit. O meron siya yung sa kamay, yung gloves. Kasi ang kamay nila, natutusok na. So ang kakapal. Tapos yun po, nilalagyan din namin ng ointment, may mga gamot kami binibigay. Simple lang, and they really like it kasi first time naman nasabi, ay, ito yung kailangan namin. Yan yung kailangan nila. Kasi wala silang ganyan, yung mga hindi nila ma-afford kasi hindi rin nila alam saan bibilhin. Yan po yung mga sample kit. Tabi-tabi nila yan. Yan po yung mga sample kits. So those are some for of the farmers. So now, why have we been doing this? So to give you an overview, we have a dwindling production of coffee. It's not only actually into coffee, many of other crops. That's why I think there's a high value crop division in the DA. And it's very important to keep track the high value crop kasi malaki talaga yung kita nun. Ito sa kape. Ito yung example na picture na nasa kanan, sa upper right. Yan yung ginagawa namin para pagkwento. Ganyan kami magkwentuhan, pabilog lang kami. Nakapool lang, hindi siya, walang mataas, walang tabi-tabi lang, kapi-kapi lang, kwento. Doon kasi lumalabas yung mga hinaing nila or yung mga gusto nilang sabihin kapag ganyan yung kwentuhan. We don't want them to bring to a hotel or whatever kasi hindi sila makapagsalita, na-intimidate sila. Alam mo yung cathedral effect. But when you are in a very big area, like a hotel, cathedral effect nun kasi mataas. But when you bring them to their own niche, nakakapagsalita sila. Yung cathedral effect sa kanila, iba. Kasi yung cathedral nila is yung farm, hindi yung hotel or many other things. So iba yung dating. So yun yung mga nakita namin. Ito yung makita niyo po, yun yung mga kape nila sa baba. Sa likod niyan, sa tabi nitong mga kape niya, marami pa dyan. May banana, may mga onions, kasi marami nakatanim. What I'm saying is that some of the coffee challenges in the country situation sa buong bansa natin, pababa yung production natin, pero mataas ang ating importation din. Kasi ang ating sufficiency level for coffee, 15%. Ganun din sa ibang crops natin. I haven't gotten a lot of studies yet, but I'm trying to familiarize myself with the other situations in our other crops. So these are some of the challenges that we experience in the country level. However, with the farm level situations, ito yun, mga farm level situations nila. Nagsiship na sila to other crops, lack or overuse fertilization. To actually yung hindi tayo kulang sa fertilizer. Maraming fertilizer. No overuse lang ng mga farmers kasi hindi sila nagtetest. Kasi wala silang capacity to test. Or bigay lang tayo ng bigay ng fertilizer. Hindi na natetest. Hindi na pala nila kailangan ng fertilizer. Or dapat may tamang timing ang paggamit ng fertilizer. So, dapat may program ng paggamit ng fertilizer, limited control of pests and diseases, limited access to certified planting materials. Yun yung sinasabi ko po sa inyo kanina. Wala tayong certified planting materials. Na mayroon yan sa ibang bansa, Vietnam, Indonesia, marami silang accredited nurseries. Lack of post-harvest facilities. Actually, nag-i-improve tayo sa post-harvest facilities. Kaso, hindi naman siya na maintain ng matagal kasi ang tendency pag nabigay na sa kanila, wala na. So yun nangyayari. Limited access to credit and market opportunities. We're improving in this one. Still, it's limited. Poor practices due to lack of knowledge and skills. Ito yung po sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina na hindi sila maka-adapt ng gap or good agricultural practices, much more about technology. Aging of farmers. We have a solution to this. Aging of farmers, kapag may activity, isama na agad yung anak. Lagyan ng technology or something else so that they can work together. High exposure to climate change. Yan, yung problema natin na hindi agad natin masolusyonan ang climate change. Nahirap kalaban nito. Kaya, yung mga data natin na nakukuha sa farm, probably could help them. Hopefully. Now, so there's one thing that we're happy to work with is about the RCEP. So in our nutrition, we've tweaked our nutrition entrepreneurship model, our social enterprise model, is where we put parts of it, we're pivoting to RCEP because we've removed tariffs on 90% of the commodities. And one of that ay coffee, kasama din ng rice, mais, potatoes, and sugar. So that means we can freely export those produce in the ASEAN +5 with reduced tariff. I'm sure it's not zero tariff but reduced tariff. So mas bumaba. So sa ASEAN +5, itong nako-cover na area na to, diyan ang ating 50% of export market. Diyan napupunta yung exports natin. And 67.3% ng imports natin galing sa mga areas na yan. And 58% ng foreign direct investments ay galing din sa areas na yan. Yung FDIs is very interesting kasi naging topic namin to sa BIM IAGA. China is going to also give some support, but they want to focus on high infra like telecommunications, roads, things like that, yung mga malalaking infra, energy. New offices, meron tayong mga support din from that, about that. Build new businesses like the Korean funding. Ang focus sa Manila is agriculture, connectivity, environment. So things like this. Naramdaman ko tong RCEP recently by getting the funding from Korea, which is ASEAN, part of the ASEAN +5 of the RCEP. So, nag-start siya, di po ba, ASEAN +3, and then finally ASEAN +5, and then karoon tayo ng RCEP. So, ang pinaka-highlight po kasi nitong RCEP na natutunan ko pag-attend ko at sa mga meeting with the ministers, dalawa yung hina-highlight nito, mobility and goods. That means you can freely mobilize your human capital or your goods into this area. Yun yung highlight niya kasi. Yun yung tinatry namin isabihin sa mga farmers about mobility. Now, if you go to Korea, wala silang taniman ng kape. Pero ang daming magagaling na coffee capper. Ang daming magaling scientifically about coffee. Maraming magaling magbarista. Why? Wala naman silang kapihan. That's what we mean by human capital. Doon meron sila. May competitive human capital sila. And that's what we're doing at Varacco. We continue to develop ourselves as well so that we can impart more knowledge and skills to the farmers in the field. So, yan yung mga gusto nating gawin to at least improve yung human capital. Kasi diyan nag-invest yung mga neighboring countries natin to make their population more competitive. Yun yung kailangan nating i-improve pa about human capital advancement and making them more knowledgeable and skilled. And then last year, when I spoke in Bangkok about our model, I've highlighted about the Geographical Indicator Index, or GI, something new. So part of RCEP is to have each country a symbolism, and that's in the form of geographical indicator. And the geographical indicator, or GI index, is now being implemented in the Philippines through the Intellectual Property Office under the DTI, which I believe our Honorable Ernie was there many years ago, and this is something that is very new to me, and I'm very interested to find more about this. So I'm flying to Bangkok next week to also study about the GI and to also talk about our model. GI for the Philippines assigned in ASEAN are coffee and rice. Coffee is down south in Mindanao. I forgot the exact name, but it's somewhere there. And the rice is in Manawe. Yun yung na-identify ng ating country. Why are we not utilizing this index, the GI index, to further capitalize? So if we've indicated rice and coffee as our GI index symbolism among Southeast Asia, that means it's something that we can export because yun dun tayo kilala. Cambodia is chocolate. A lot. There's a website for that. You can check it under the FAO website, and they have geographical index. You can just Google it, and each country has symbolisms. So I hope mag-benefit talaga yung mga farmers natin dito. So what we can do together is to improve production, not only of coffee, but in other crops, productivity. Yung sinasabi natin sa inyo kanina about human capital, product quality, about access to new technology, and post-harvest facility, and profitability, of course, access to market and investment. So I call it the 4 Ps. So sa marketing mix, diba may 4 Ps. Ito naman, for our model, we have 4 Ps: production, productivity, product quality, and profitability. So that's our main objective. So right now, I'm going to highlight this one. This is the technology that we're using in the field, using our nutrition entrepreneurship model. We've deployed this technology in which we can monitor the microclimate. So we get data about precipitation, wind, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, humidity, temperature. We also involve our young ones. So that's yan ang ginagawa namin for soil testing. Tuturuan natin sila tamang soil kasi may lalim yan eh. Hindi ka pwedeng basta kumuha lang ng soil. So tapos sa buong farm, drawing mo siya, may design siya. So kung buong farm, you have to really get samples, combine it, air dry it, saka mo pa siya mapapatest. So we're making it easier a bit by using this technology. So we have 3 phases now in our production. So this one is a focus on in the farm. So ito yung nasa pangatlong column po kanina nung pinakita ko sa inyo yung ginagawa ng Varacco. So we have 3 phases. We're now at phase 2, which is the technology adoption and on-farm experimentations. So we were able to at least develop the technology and establish it in the farms in our phase 1 from 2021 up to last year. So we're now on the pre-commercialization phase of phase 2. And hopefully by next year, we go to farmer technology transfer, in which case it's the farmer who's going to mentor the other farmers in the community. Those are our 3 phases. So these are some of the things that we have already done for the last 3 years in the farms in Mindanao, agreements with LGU, meeting with the ILGU and the IPs kasi may sarili silang opisina, creation of the manuals, the protocols. We have as on-site farm assessment kasama ang mga farmers. We do farm research layout and design, so we want them to visualize how their farm looks like on top view. So para alam nila kung saan sila, nilalagyan namin siya ng mga tags para alam nila yung mga kape at mga puno na kailangan nilang alagaan. We do one-on-one baseline profiling. We have to let them analyze their own situation. We have validation, signal testing, and many more. We have capacity building. We have consultative workshop with experts. And this is our dashboard where we see the data. Even though we're not in the farm, we know the condition of their farm. We give them fertilizer, field extension services, and we have online reporting of the issues and concerns. So we can do all of these things, even though we are not in the farm. Yung good agricultural practices na sinasabi ko po sa inyo kanina, GAP, we're also trying to learn and improve it more. We have coffee pruning, soil analysis, fertilization, water management, pest and disease management, harvesting, post-harvest handling. These are some of the GAPs or good agricultural practices that we're doing in the field. So So as Sec Ernest said, so I actually, when I do presentation, actually write a slide for call to action, teamwork, and looking at the bigger picture, because you cannot do it alone. Varacco cannot do it alone. And we want more allies. Or I'm sure you are also doing your activities, projects on your own, and really, really commend you on that. And I hope to also learn from your experience. So you can connect, we can connect together. You can work with us. You can join us volunteers in our Mindanao, because it runs until 2026. So we have a lot more leeways if you want to go there and join us, meet our farmers, give them notebooks or calculators. We can distribute it to them for you. You know, invest. You can share your time with farmers. Investment to the farmers. You can help us, say, buy more of this call that solar panels or things like this bamboo. So you can invest in a lot of things. Market, you can talk about precision farming, just like what we do here at MAP. I'm really glad that there's a platform like this, because this is actually a form of marketing already. We can talk about farming, talk about anything. Or even so, maybe one day, if you want, you can invite one of the farmers to at least say, give a talk for 10 minutes or 15 minutes if they're free. Think that would be a good idea if there's someone from the farmer's side really doing and experiencing all of these things to share the experiences of their lives in the farms. Purchase. You can patronize our local coffee. Not only local coffee, but our very own produced here in the Philippines. Of course, showcase. You can give our produce, our local products as gifts. You can post it in social media. So just like that, you can also like us in Facebook at Varacco, or in IG Varacco_coffee. So these are some of the things that we need, and that how we can help together. You can also join us if you are skilled, say in technology, or if you can write about our farmers, if you want to buy some of their produce in your restaurants, if you have. So there are a lot of things. We are open to collaboration. And with that, I'd like to show you a 2-minute video about Ate Annalisa on what we're doing with in the farm. Share computer sound. Okay, let me play it now. Enjoy this.
Coffee farming is indigenous to the Filipino society. However, climate change has contributed to the low productivity of coffee in the Philippines.
Ako po si Annalisa Comingis, na coffee farmer sa Bansalan, Balotacay, Davao del Sur. Kami nagtanom og kape 30 years na. Pasalamat kog dako sa Varacco Coffee nga niabot diri sa amoang lugar, sa akong farm diri sa Balotacay. Daghan silang technology gihatag sa amoa. Nya pagkahuman pag-pruning, pag-harvest, unya pag-atuman sa kape. Naghatag sila devices diri aron makita kung unsa na ang dagan sa atong panahon. Unya naghatag sila og mga bagong technology nga mga rejuvenation. Project ninyo, ang project karon nga naa diri makuanunta sa akong pamilya, sa akong anak, ako nang gihinay-hinay og hatag sa ilaha kay ay ako idara naman ko no, gusto nako nga sila na pod ang magkuan sa ako ang kape.
With Internet of Things for coffee, we improve productivity and post-harvest quality, and create farmer scientists and farmer entrepreneurs.
So yun po yun si Ate Annalisa. And if you want to access where we got our presentation, some of the information, these are our sources from the PEDS government website and the OECD library. the Agricultural Policy Monitoring and Evaluation, and thinkfarm.com. I hope I touched your hearts a little bit and you've learned a lot about our model as well, and you have some inkling of what we can do together. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Aris. You know, it's interesting because top of TOIM, you're the pioneer, Ramon Ilosorio, who is the department chairman of TOIM. At that time, the finance group was not so good. He's the co-founder and the main author of the money market, which we see today. My contribution is ISO 9000. I remember we could not export because we had no ISO 9000 because they didn't trust us. With ISO 9000, which I helped introduce, we can now export. And now it's come to you now. And what you're doing now is transferring technology using the youth and in the very important ask of agriculture, the pioneer there. So we'd like to continue that TOIM strategy, but I just want to comment on RCEP. In the RCEP ratification document approved unanimously by the Senate, the only committee mentioned there is International Committee of the Philippine Council for Agricultural Fisheries, and the chairman is MAP ABCD. So we're involved in RCEP, and we want to say that we like the fact you look at RCEP. But you are on the ground, you talk to the farmers, and the problem with RCEP is that we must prepare our people to be competitive. They're not yet competitive, so we have conditionalities, like we must stop this corruption in customs, stop the corruption and give technology. So we need you now to spearhead this. You're the TOM of youth, and we will spearhead this. So as MABCD, you're a member of the board, you're now come to the whole thing. Now I'd like to say that I want to thank you. Now we start the informal session before we start the open forum. Yeah. So for all of you listening, the next forum is going to flash here. We have it every week. I want to thank Bernie. She's the wind beneath our wings. Okay, here we go. Samantha Coronado Antonio is Waves for Water Philippines. Incidentally, MEPBCD was a prime mover in the creation of the Movements for Water Security. And this Waves for Water is so important. Water is not really looked at with enough emphasis, but hopefully it will start now because President Marcos has responded to our recommendation, which is essentially a several water department now. All right. Thank you. That's it, September 12th.